That's got a very alarming. Wow.
The feds just pulled off a major sweep and the whole scene is buzzing. Future's relative FBG Casino is now staring at a federal situation so serious it could have him locked away for a very long time. Behind Casino's flashy lifestyle and his heavy FBG ties, investigators say he was running a full-scale operation that ended with agents kicking in doors, uncovering 21 kilograms of controlled substances and close to $400,000 in cash. What really brought Casino down is way more complicated than anybody expected, and insiders believe federal agents are building something even bigger that might reach all the way toward Future himself. This situation has people talking non-stop because the details keep getting wilder by the minute. So listen, we're about to dig into the real federal storm shaking Atlanta's hip-hop scene, and this one has layers on layers. Street chatter has been going crazy ever since Casino got picked up, but right here we're breaking down the truth. The facts, not the rumors. This isn't about Josh to say he is in trouble. This is about what's actually confirmed. On November 19th, 2025, everything changed for Rico DeVille Boyce, better known as FBG Casino, Future's actual blood brother. At 41 years old, he wasn't even doing anything wild at the moment. He was staying at an Airbnb in Forest Park, Georgia, when a federal task force arrived with full force and shut everything down in seconds. But before anyone starts thinking this was just some regular street-level situation, let's make it clear, this is a federal case with mandatory minimums and serious weight behind it. Investigators say the details point directly to Rico, and the paperwork they're stacking is looking intense. This isn't just another headline. This is a full federal storyline unfolding right in front of everyone's eyes. But here's where things really heat up, because the timing on this whole situation is what has everybody talking. Casino had been moving in this lifestyle for years, so why did the spotlight land on him now? And why at this exact moment? This is where it gets wild. On November 14th, 2025, federal agents from the FBI, DEA, and Clayton County Police pulled up to that Forest Park rental spot like something straight out of a high-budget film. When Casino spotted them rolling in, he tried to dip out the side door, moving quick like he was still in his early 20s out here in the streets. But here's the thing. Federal teams don't move sloppy. They come prepared, planned, and ready. They had this whole setup mapped out from top to bottom, probably watching Casino for months before making a single move. When they caught him trying to slide out, they found $4,000 in his pockets. Now, for most folks, that's solid money, but for someone linked to the type of activity Casino was allegedly involved in, that's just casual spending cash. And look, anybody from the neighborhoods knows that running when police pull up is pure instinct, but when it's federal agents at your door, that's a different level of pressure and every move counts. Casino's situation stood out because this wasn't some small-time corner setup. This was a structured operation, a real distribution network that had been staying tucked away from the spotlight for a long time. And here's where another major piece of the puzzle drops. Let me put you on to David S. Devin Montello Diaz, the 23-year-old from Coachella, California, who got wrapped up in this situation with Casino. That cross-state link is probably what put them on the federal radar in the first place, because once different regions start connecting, the attention gets serious real fast. When you got people moving product from California to Georgia, that becomes interstate business, and that's exactly the kind of activity that puts the feds on high alert. This young man from the West Coast probably thought he was stepping into quick money, but now he's staring at the exact same heavy charges Casino is facing. The $4,000 they found on Casino was nothing compared to what agents uncovered inside that property. We're talking 21 kilograms of controlled substances, $380,000 stacked in rubber bands, a money counter, a food sealing machine, and even a device commonly linked to personal protection, and the type of item investigators always pay attention to. This wasn't no messy setup. This looked like a polished, organized system running with precision. Agents even reported finding another $80,000 tucked inside a designer bag tied to Casino. The man was living with serious luxury vibes while his brother is out here worth hundreds of millions, and the lifestyle around him only added more attention to everything going on. But here's the part that almost feels unreal. Casino literally appeared in Future's music video called Feds Did a Sweep. And in that video, he's surrounded by stacks of money, product, and the exact kind of lifestyle he was known for. It's like the line between life and entertainment blurred completely. Was life copying the video, or was the video copying life? Either way, it's wild because it almost looks like he was showing the world exactly how he was living, and you know federal agents were definitely paying attention. And this story goes way deeper than just having controlled substances around. Casino had been tied to this lifestyle for years. He spoke about it in interviews, he moved like someone who had been around the streets for a long time, and he even dropped a mixtape back in 2013 called Ex-Drug Dealer. The man literally told the world he was an ex-dealer, but the way things turned out, that ex part might have been more for the image than the truth. Let me break down Casino's whole timeline because this situation didn't show up overnight. It's been building for more than a decade. Back in 2013, he dropped that ex-drug dealer mixtape claiming he had walked away from the streets and was ready to focus on music. The project featured Future Young Scooter and production from Atlanta giants like Metro Boomin and Zaytoven, the real heavy hitters of the scene. Casino was setting himself up as someone who left the old life behind and was stepping into the industry clean, focused, and ready to grow. Fast forward to 2017, and he's on interviews with DJ Small's Eyes talking about how trapping is over, saying real trappers don't exist anymore. He's literally on camera explaining how the game changed, how people got careless, how they post everything online, and how folks basically build their own cases without even realizing it. But here's where the irony hits hard. That's exactly what he was doing. Years of interviews, social media clips, and behind-the-scenes content painted a picture he probably didn't realize he was creating. It was like he was handing investigators a timeline piece by piece without even noticing. Then there was that street politician interview where Casino was moving around with people who looked ready for anything, and he was talking boldly about having a team around him and showing off the type of lifestyle that draws serious attention. He was in the back of a Rolls Royce speaking freely, showing everything on camera like it was nothing. People in the comments were calling it out in real time, saying he was being reckless and that these videos were basically self-incrimination. One comment straight up said, "How many homies gotta go to the feds before these cats realize these videos are just self-incrimination?" And looking back now, that comment almost feels like a prediction come to life. For anyone who doesn't fully understand the street dynamics behind all this, let me break it down. When your own brother is worth somewhere between 50 and 100 million like Future, and you're still out here risking federal time, that comes from pride, pressure, or something deeper in the culture. In the streets, people call that not wanting to feel dependent on anyone, even family. But Casino took that idea of independence to a level most people would never even consider. Some folks would rather stand on their own, even if it means risking everything, than feel like they're living off someone else's success, even when that someone is their own blood brother. And that mentality becomes dangerous when money, image, and ego all collide at once. But this situation gets even more complicated when you remember Casino wasn't just Future's brother, he was part of the actual business. People around FBG said Casino handled day-to-day moves someone Future trusted inside the label. So the real question becomes, where does the legit business stop and where does the illegal activity begin? That blurred line is exactly the type of gray zone federal investigators love to dig into, especially when they're building RICO-style cases. Now here's the part that hits hardest. Casino is facing a mandatory minimum of 10 years and could get up to life behind bars at 41 years old. For someone his age, that's a sentence that could keep him locked away for the rest of his natural life without ever seeing freedom again. That's a terrifying reality, especially for someone who's been living large for years. What really gets people thinking is the timing. Casino had been moving like this for a long time, posting online, doing interviews, showing the world his lifestyle, and even going viral in Future's Feds Did a Sweep video surrounded by cash and product. So why did the feds move right now? Real talk, situations like this don't happen randomly. Agents don't just accidentally find 21 kilograms of controlled substances and $380,000 in cash. They had specific intel. They knew exactly where to go, exactly when to pull up, and exactly what they expected to find. There's no way they walked into this blind, which means someone, somewhere, must have pushed information their way. Casino had been moving in this lifestyle for years, but something clearly shifted, and that's what got the attention of federal investigators. Maybe it was the co-defendant, David Montello Diaz, coming in from California. Because once you cross state lines, the attention grows fast and the radar gets sharper. That cross-state connection probably played a huge part in getting the feds locked in on this situation. But let me tell you how these federal cases really go down, because they don't move overnight. The feds don't just wake up and say, let's raid someone today. They build these cases slowly and quietly, sometimes for months, sometimes for years. They use wiretaps, surveillance, financial tracing, and most importantly, they flip people. Someone in Casino's circle definitely got caught up and decided to save themselves by talking, because that's how these big federal cases usually start. It could have been someone who got grabbed with a smaller amount and decided to point fingers to avoid doing serious time. That happens way more than people want to admit. And this situation is way bigger than Casino simply being connected to product. This has the structure of a classic federal buildup. Federal investigators love constructing large enterprise cases, and they already have a blueprint after what happened with Young Thug and YSL. Think about it. Future has FBG, which stands for Free Bands Gang. Casino handles the day-to-day operations. They've got multiple artists, money moving around, business transactions, and now serious federal charges tied to Casino. It gives investigators room to create a narrative where Future becomes the face of a so-called enterprise, using his music career as a front while his brother handles the other side. That's exactly the type of storyline federal agents know how to push, especially after they argued that YSL wasn't just a label but a criminal organization. They used rap lyrics, social media posts, and public interviews in that case, and now Future is in an even more vulnerable position because his brother just got caught with 21 kilos in serious cash stacks. This is the kind of setup the feds love to expand into something even bigger. The feds could try to argue that Future knew about his brother's activities and used FBG as a way to clean the money. And that idea alone is enough to shake the whole industry. Think about it for a second. Future has been rapping about the streets, the trap, moving serious amounts, all that lifestyle energy, and in a federal case, they could easily twist those lyrics into evidence of real-life activity. Songs like Move That Dope and Karate Chop, plus a huge chunk of his whole catalog, are filled with references to the type of life his brother was allegedly connected to. And federal agents love using rap lyrics because it gives them a storyline that looks convincing on paper. Future has a mountain of music talking about that world, and you already know they'd analyze every bar. In their eyes, they could build a picture where FBG isn't just a record label, but a full organization, with Future at the top as the boss and Casino positioned as the right-hand guy overseeing the street-level operations. That's the kind of angle investigators love because it helps them construct a bigger narrative. Here's another direction the feds might go heavy with: following the money. If Casino was making hundreds of thousands from illegal activity, the big question is, where was all that money ending up? Did any of it slide into FBG? Were certain business transactions actually undercover moves to clean cash? That's exactly what forensic accountants look for. And the government has teams of them whose entire job is tracing money from the streets into legitimate businesses. And here's the thing, this isn't just about one arrest or one raid, this is about how the feds operate in 2025. They don't stop at the person on the ground, they want the whole structure. Look at what they did with YSL. Look at what they attempted with Cash Money back in the day. Look at the BMF case. The blueprint is always the same. Start with the workers and climb the ladder until you reach the leaders. But here's the part that really had me thinking, because the timing of all this feels way too specific. Why now? Casino had been living this lifestyle for years. So why did the feds decide November 2025 was the moment to move? It could be the new administration under Trump pushing harder on federal cases, tightening up the pressure. It could be someone high up in Casino's circle getting grabbed and deciding to cooperate, or maybe agents finally collected enough evidence to move forward with something bigger. Possibly even a full RICO setup. But here's the part that really makes people scratch their heads. Why was Casino still connected to the streets when Future could have easily put him on payroll? We're talking about a superstar worth hundreds of millions, and his own blood brother was still out here risking years in federal prison. For what? Pride? Independence? Or maybe Future kept some distance because he sensed something like this might eventually happen. See, in the streets, there's a mindset that says you don't turn your back on the lifestyle that built your name, even when legit opportunities are right in front of you. Some people feel like they owe the streets something, like walking away means abandoning the people who supported them. Casino might have felt he couldn't just step away from the network he built over the years, the people who counted on him, the image he created. But that loyalty comes with a heavy price, and in his case, it might cost him the rest of his natural life behind bars. Loyalty is powerful, but it can also backfire when you're dealing with federal pressure this strong. Family loyalty runs deep too, and nobody doubts that Future loves his brother. But business is business, and Future probably told Casino years ago to step away from the lifestyle. But the truth is simple. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. And now Future is in a position where helping his brother publicly could risk pulling himself into the middle of a federal conspiracy case, and that's a dangerous position for any superstar to be in. If Future steps in and pays for Casino's legal defense, the feds might flip that into a claim that an organization is taking care of its members, and that could be used to paint Future as the person holding everything together. That's the kind of angle federal prosecutors love, and it instantly raises the question, is this really just about Casino, or are they trying to build something much bigger? Casino is already facing conspiracy charges, which means investigators believe he wasn't working alone. They have that California link with Montello Diaz, and they've collected years of social media clips, interviews, and music videos that can all be twisted into evidence in a federal narrative. This could easily be the first step toward a much larger probe into FBG as a whole organization. And here's something people need to understand. The task force that took Casino in wasn't just a random group of officers. This was Homeland Security's specialized task force, the one created to go after large, multi-state criminal networks. These aren't local deputies. These are federal agents with massive resources, nationwide coordination, and a mission to take down high-level figures. The fact that they used a unit like this for casinos speaks volumes about what they think this case could turn into. The message is clear. They believe this situation stretches far beyond one man handling product. They think there's structure, connections, and conversations that reach further than the public realizes. At the end of the day, casino situation isn't just about controlled substances or cash stacks. It's about pride, family ties, and the cost of holding onto a lifestyle long after you should have stepped away. This man had every chance to move clean, every opportunity to leave the streets behind. His brother is one of the biggest artists in the world, and Casino could have lived comfortably without risking decades of federal time. But sometimes the streets don't let you walk away easily, and sometimes a person doesn't want to let go even when the door's wide open. Casino's story hits hard because it shows what happens when someone can't evolve past the environment they grew up in. He had a blueprint for success sitting right in front of him. His own brother went from the streets to superstardom, building a legacy most people only dream of. But instead of walking that same path, Casino stayed tied to a lifestyle that never gave him the same loyalty he gave it. Now he's 41, facing the kind of federal time that could keep him away for the rest of his natural life, all for money he didn't even need and respect from people who won't be around if he ends up doing decades behind bars. It's a painful reality, and it makes people ask the real question: what happens next for Future and FBG? If the feds are truly building out a RICO case, then this is just the opening chapter. They'll be watching every move Future makes, analyzing every lyric he drops, and tracking every dollar connected to the label. Future might be forced to make some serious decisions about his brother and the business just to protect himself and everything he's worked for. And this situation has the potential to change the hip-hop industry in a major way, because if the feds argue that FBG is a criminal organization, and if they succeed, that sets a brand new precedent for going after other labels the same way. Any rapper who ever talked about the streets in their music could suddenly become a target for this kind of prosecution. This goes way deeper than just Casino. This is about how the federal system is starting to treat hip-hop culture. They're using artists' own words, lyrics, and images against them. They did it to Bobby Shmurda. They did it with Young Thug, and now there's a real chance they might be lining up Future as the next name on that list. The message coming from all this is loud and clear. Success in hip-hop does not protect you from federal attention, especially when your family is still tied to the streets. What the feds are really pushing is the idea that they don't believe artists can truly step away from their past. They're acting like the culture itself is suspicious, like the music is just a front for something else, and that mindset is dangerous for the entire industry. That kind of thinking puts every artist who came from tough environments at risk, even the ones who turned their lives around and built something positive. And now Casino is sitting in a position where he's facing life in prison at 41 years old, all for money he didn't need and respect from people who won't be anywhere near him if he ends up doing decades behind bars. It's a tragic reality a lot of people relate to, because sometimes the hardest move in life is stepping away from the world that shaped you. But the truth is simple. The streets will always be there, but your freedom won't. Once you get wrapped up in something this big, no amount of loyalty or pride can pull you out of it. As for Future, you already know he has some of the best lawyers in the business working non-stop to keep this situation from touching him. But the reality is harsh. When the feds want to connect dots, they'll find ways to do it. Even small details can be twisted into major claims when prosecutors are aiming high. Future's smartest move right now is to keep serious distance from anything that could look suspicious, stay clean, stay focused, and hope his brother's case doesn't get expanded into something larger by investigators who are clearly hungry for a bigger storyline. What do you think about Casino's situation and how this could impact Future's whole career moving forward? Do you feel like the feds are quietly building a full RICO case against FBG? Or is this situation really just about Casino's own decisions catching up to him? And do you believe Future could have done more to pull his brother away from the streets? Or is this simply a grown man choosing his own path no matter what opportunities were in front of him? Drop your thoughts down below, because this story is only getting deeper and every angle matters when a case this big is unfolding. And make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we're tracking everything as it develops, and trust, things are moving fast in this one. The streets are watching, the feds are watching, and we're right here breaking it all down piece by piece so you never miss a step in this situation. Smash that like, comment, and share button to keep this video pushing, and don't forget to tap that notification bell so you're the first to know when new details drop, because when it comes to federal cases, updates can hit at any moment. And check out the video on screen right now. You don't want to miss what comes next.